Hey, what's up, team? Eddie Gray here. We're covering the Logic user guide. Today, we're covering how to use auxiliary tracks. So if you don't really know what I'm talking about, or if you've always wanted to learn some of the deeper facets of Logic Pro, let's get into it. Here we go. All right. Pre-recorded. Happy Saturday, y'all. We're getting into Logic Pro, my favorite subject in the known and unknown universe. Today, we're going to be talking about Aux Channel Strips. And before I do, I just want to say that regardless of what happens in your life, your commitment should be the same, right? We have always said we're going to be doing this 6 days a week. I'm actually not in town right now, but because I love you guys, I want to see you succeed. I want to see you grow. Guess what? We pre-recorded this and we set it up in advance to make sure that everything moves forward. So never compromise your dedication to success. All right, Aux channel strips. These can be used for several reasons. We can create subgroups to submix, route a signal to multiple destinations. We talked about efficiency before, and add additional destination channels for multi-output instruments. So that's what we'll be talking about today as well, multi-output instruments. Typically, you create an aux channel strip as you need them, or Logic does it for you, which is really incredible. An aux channel strip is created automatically when a send assignment is made from a channel strip. So when you create a send assignment, this is automatically going to be created for you. I've talked about this before, except when the chosen bus is already in use, then of course, it will just be utilizing that channel strip. When a multi-output instrument such as the sampler is inserted into an instrument channel strip, several aux channels are made behind the scenes. This is when we create multi-output instruments. You must then go to the auxiliary and click on the add button. It's a small plus symbol. We're going to get into it in a second. Each time we click it, a new auxiliary is then created and automatically assigned to a particular instrument output. So a lot of this stuff is happening in the background for us, which is really great. Another reason why I love Logic. You can also create aux channel strips by choosing options in the mixer. There's a local menu bar. Okay, create new auxiliary channel strips. So however you want to do it, but again, you would go to view and you would create a new channel strip right here. Oh, actually, look, it looks like they moved it from here to there, new auxiliary. So this should be dinged out. It's, oh wait, did it say options? Oh, it did. Okay. So that's actually my bad. Here we go. All right, so you can delete channel strips as described. So if we want to delete this one, for example, we would just hit delete. If we wanted to maybe get rid of this aux, you could do that as well. But if you do, remember that it may be assigned to another one of the send assignments, in which case you want to be careful what you choose here. This could cancel and deselect, which I find is the same exact thing, by the way. Whereas if I just hit that and I cancel, it just cancels, but this is still in focus. Yeah, I'm not sure who thought of that, but interesting. You can group several channel strips and route them via a single bus, a single aux channel strip. This provides you with one set of controls over the entire group. So earlier in the series, I showed you how to create a track stack, as you may have remembered. Well, there's something else that we can do as well. Rather than having to create this track stack and have this auxiliary show up in the tracks area, you can actually just route these out. So let me go ahead and change the routing up here. All right, so that I'll take these two tracks, I'm going to the mixer, and I'm going to send them to bus, let's do just a random number 28. Okay, so bus 28 has been created. In order to reset their values, I'm going to hit option, click, and you can see now that they both have been reset. Now, something you should think about is the fact that this one is in post fader and this one is in post pan. So we want this to be by default. I think they were post pan. I always forget which one it is, but cool. So then now they're both on. Here, let me check what this is on by default. Yeah, post pan. Awesome. So both of these are being sent over, if you will, to bus 28. So we're still hearing the processing here, but now we're including them in aux 4, which is bus 28. So let's call this distorted, or maybe XX. All right, so we're just going to distort this. So I'm going to go into distortion, and we're going to add, let's do something wild, like some clip distortion here. And we'll just start with the basic preset. And so then now we're taking bus 28 from the 2 drum tracks, and we're going to increase the signal to see what kind of sound we get. Okay, here we go. Let me play from here. All right, so you're starting to hear a little bit more character from the processing, right? So this is an aux track that we're using for drum processing. You might want to add some other stuff. I highly recommend like tape delay. I don't know if I have this. Yeah, tape delay. So now this is going to make it sound a little bit thicker. Let's listen to this. All right, so let's compare this before. So we're just changing the characteristic of the drum sound. Okay, something else that you can add is compression and really get this thing to howl. So let's go to dynamics. Let's go to compressor. I'll use an opto. I know a lot of people would choose the VCA, but I want this to be loud. We'll use some clip distortion here too. So that's a very different sound than that. So the clip distortion is kind of throwing out some artifacts. So then I might want to use here, I'll do something more like the Studer. So now this is third party, but at least you get a sense of, how it's going through the chain. Check it out. So this can have the effect of bringing together the sound, right? So this is what we call mix subgroups, where we're grouping together several channel strips and routing them to a single bus. This is going to provide us with onset controls for the entire group. Now this is also useful because if you wanted to, we can go ahead and insert an EQ here, okay? And we can affect the EQ if we wanted to, just add a little bit here. So that's something else that you can do, but there's more options. So I want to show you what those are. So let's say your mix contains multiple drum tracks and you want to manage them using a single set of channel strips, or you want to use a compressor across the whole drum kit. This is what we've been doing here. You can do this by sending each of the drum tracks to the same bus, which in turn sends their signals. And there's different ways of doing this. You might then route your vocal track to a second aux, providing a separate group control for these channel strips. Finally, you have the option to output both subgroups to the same destination or to separate destinations. So the stereo output or to separate destinations. Okay, so there are some similarities between using aux channel strips as subgroups and working with mixer groups. So there's another concept as well that we can take on later. You can control the group subgroup properties from one set of channel strip controls. We can control all of this from one set. However, mixer groups are used to control channel strip group properties and not the signal flow. So if we can distinguish between mixer groups and the subgroups, is with the mixer groups, we can control the channel strip itself, whereas with the mixer, with the subgroups, you can control the processing. So okay, let's figure out how to do this. Create a subgroup. I showed you how to shift click. We drag over the background of the channel strips. You can drag horizontally across multiple channel strips over the word insert or IO text. So for example, if I'm inside of the mixer, and I click and drag, we can do something like that, where we're selecting multiple tracks. Okay, it's interesting. It's selecting everything except the auxes. I believe because these are not in the tracks area. So if I shift clicked on these effects, I'm going to insert these at the bottom of the chain, and I control click them. Let me see here, and I create a track. These now exist in the tracks area. So when I select everything, everything in effect is selected. So, okay, we don't want to do all of this, of course. We just want, in this case, why don't I just do the guitars? Well, the guitar is not a good example. I guess I'll do these melody. Yeah, this melody feature here. Okay, so I'll take these two. Okay, now what? It says click and hold the output. So now we're actually going to do this a little bit differently. In fact, I'll go to the drums for this. Okay, so it says that you click on the output slot. Let's see. Output slot of the selected channel strip reflects the chosen bus. A new aux channel strip is created except when the chosen bus is ready as an input source, as we talked about. Its input slot contains the channel strip signal flow coming via the chosen bus. Click and hold the output slot of the aux channel strip, then choose the output destination for the main mix. Okay, so use the aux channel strip to process the submix, adding it. Okay, so it's interesting. Now they're doing something a little bit deeper. So I was kind of using it in parallel with these two drums, right? Because I was sending both of these buses. But here, check this out. What they're saying is take the actual stereo out and route it to bus 28. So I'm going to click here on the output. We'll go to bus and we'll select 28. And so this is in fact our drum subgroup. See how we're doing the routing here? Can you just do a track stack instead? Yes, you can absolutely just do a track stack instead. But now the output of the track is going here. So let's listen to this and see what that sounds like. It's a very different way of going about it. Okay, without the processing, it sounds like this. So you see we're processing this and we're applying more aggression, and we're doing it together. So it sounds like one sound source. So now we hear the shaker and the drums as opposed to hearing them on separate channels. Sometimes they need to be glued, and so this is a sure way of doing that. Okay, good. So that's one way to do it. And if you ever get lost, as mentioned in the last video, if you shift and click on a bus or on the output, Logic will flash the channel strip 3 times. Okay, so if you want to send signals to multiple destinations, you can route a signal to several output destinations using auxes. For example, you might have a main signal with an output set up to external speakers, as most of us already do. At the same time, you want to hear the signal as a separate headphone mix, including some additional effects. Okay, so if you want to create a different headphone mix, you can do that as well. To do this, you would set up 2 separate output destinations for your signal, with the aux channel strips controlling the headphone mix, including the additional effects. Okay, how do we do this? Logic Pro, click and hold the channel strips output slot, then choose the main output for the speakers. You click hold the channel strip send slot, then choose the bus to send a separate signal to. An aux channel strip is created automatically. Your chosen bus is reflected in the aux channel strip's input slot. So for example, if we wanted to send all of this, including the effects, to, let's just say, I don't know, bus 100, just to kind of change it up here. So then now we're, oh wait, looks like I already did this. Let's do 101. Okay, so all of this is being sent to a separate aux. Okay, so then we have to change the output or the stereo output in order to create a separate mix. So then we click and hold the output slot, and then we choose a second output for the destination, such as a headphone. So, well, let's see if we get more information. Your signal flow is now routed to 2 separate destinations. The main signal flow to the speakers, right, in its dry state. And then the second signal flow via the bus to the aux can be modified and heard in its wet state. Okay, so did we get more instruction? Page 577. No, we don't. Okay, so let's just experiment with this then. Bus 101, and I will create output. Let's just do 3 and 4. All right, so now we have this separate output. Let me click on that, and then I'll just place a phaser. Let's just do something like that. Now, what's interesting that they're not mentioning here is how you can listen to 3 and 4, unless your interface has, those outputs. I don't know if you can actually listen to this, but we're going to try it regardless. So here's a chorus that we should be able to listen to. Let's see how this plays out. Let's check it out. So, yeah, we're not able to hear this simply because when I have my speaker set up, everything's coming out of stereo out 1 and 2, not 3 and 4. But we can change that behavior, and I believe we're going to get into that very soon within the user guide. But if you did want to create a headphone mix, all you would have to do is get some kind of headphone amplifier or a separate interface, and you would have to go out 3 and 4, and then you should be able to hear this, right? But again, that's not mentioned there. I wish there was some more information in regards to that. But yeah, let's keep going. Multi-output instrument. This is really good. This is like one of my favorite things to do here. So, I wonder. Let's see what they recommend. I know how to use this with Omnisphere, but let's try this out. To process each sound individually in drum kit, you would want to use multi-output instruments. To route different software instruments to different outputs on your audio interface, you can also do this as well. So we would route different software instruments to different outputs. Logic Pro supports the multi-outputs of Drum Kit Designer, Sampler, Ultra B, and all audio unit instruments. So third-party stuff as well. One or more multi-output options may be displayed in addition to the mono and stereo versions. So if you want to access the setting, of course, you have to turn it on. Not all instruments offer multi-output options. Okay, so see, one of the things is it doesn't tell you what to select. I don't know if I want to try this AU MIDI synth. Let me see if I could find something else that could fit what we're up to here. So if I go to an empty channel strip, let me think about what we can use. Well, we know we could use Contact. There's multi-output instruments there. Actually, I've created some of these in advance. So let me just go ahead and do that, because otherwise the routing is going to take a while. So if I go to, see, did I create this as a patch? Let me see, multi-output studio drummer. And there's a difference between multi-timbral and multi-output, just to be clear. Let's see if we can pull up this instance of multi-output studio drummer. Yeah, so a lot of the work has already been done. You can see that when I play the drums here, they're coming out of their own unique channels. Like there's the kick, right there are the overheads and such. And so all of this was routed here. So it's contact, multi-output, and then once you go into the plugin, you start to look for ways to route it outside of the mixer. So this was fairly complicated from what I remember, and I just routed everything out, and I believe I did that through the outputs here. I maneuvered everything so that there was a lot of programming here that had to occur in order to pull this off. But now everything is in its own output, and so all of the auxes are here as well. So this multi-output created several other instances. I wonder if we can try and create this from scratch. Let me get rid of some stuff here so we can look at the screen in a clean way. So for example, let's go with Ultra Beat. We can pull this off. It's multi-output. Okay. So let's click on track number 1. I hit X. You'll see that there's a plus symbol right next to Ultra Beat. This is a multi-output instrument. I'll click this. Let's just do 4 for now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is challenging because there's a lot of other stuff that's in the way. So let me see if I could I want to make sure I'm looking at wait, hold on, where's Ultra Beat here? Instrument number 8. Yeah, okay. So these 4 are part of my multi-output. So I'm going to control click and create track. So then now these are all on the screen with me, right? So when I open up Ultra Beat, all of it's still coming out of here. So we have to route it in such a way where it's coming out of these, Ultra Beat 3 and 4, Ultra Beat 5 and 6. And so let's see if we can find out how to do that. And again, why you would process each sound individually, whereas we can't really do that. And then to route different software instrument outputs to different outputs on your audio interface. This is really good for summing mixers and things of that nature. So let me see. Click and hold. Yeah, we did that. And this is generally done using a pop-up menu with entries such as main. So then in the plugin, we want to set up the output routing. So 3, 4, 5, 6, yada, yada. Is that all they give us in the mixer? Yeah, we did that. Good. Aux channel is created to the right. We did that. Repeatedly click the plus button after you create the first aux channel strip. And if you want to start deleting them, you could as well. And I believe that's as far as this is going to take us. Okay. So then we need to find a way to route this out to output. Let's see here. It says 3, 4, et cetera, et cetera. So not sure how to do that exactly quite yet. I wonder if we have some more options here. Nothing here. Trying to look at the interface to see if there's anything regarding mixing. Don't see anything here. Okay, actually, wait, what about there? So, okay, so here's the kick, right? And then I'll click here and I'll say, I want this next click to go out 3 and 4. And then I want this snare to go out 5 and 6. So just those 3 sounds here. Now the click is coming out of here. And then the snare is coming out of here. And of course you could change the order, but now in effect, we have the kick, we have the click, and we have the snare. And it's all going to look like that. Of course, there were no detailed descriptions on how to do that, but you need to look for how this is being routed. And there's a lot of different instruments in Logic, so you're going to have to figure out how to do this. Spend some time with it. I think this is worth some more tutorials as well. But Drum Kit Designer has a multi-output, looks like, and see if there's any others. I'm just curious. I know Sampler has one for sure. What is it? Studio Horns looks like. So you can have all of these being treated a little bit differently. So that's really nice. Let's look at Studio Strings really quick. Yeah, this looks not promising. Like, where do I control the output of anything in here? Yeah, I don't see any. Yeah. So anyway, this may be something Logic needs to work on. I'm not sure how they do it. I don't know if this happens automatically in the background. We're not getting enough information. So yeah, it's challenging in that regard. But I showed you how to do it with Ultra Beat. So go ahead and follow suit. It's a lot easier with a lot of other instruments that are in the market. I just want to throw that out there. For example, Omnisphere is really good about this, right? Really easy stuff. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's keep going. We're using output channel strips in Logic Pro. So by default, a project contains one output channel strip. That's That's 1 and 2, okay? And this is going to take the signal from all the individual tracks. So from all of these tracks, they all go into the mighty output 1 and 2. Let me delete this because we created this earlier, this output. I just in the last year have found out what those outputs are for. I have a summing mixer now, and now I route everything to the summing mixer. But unless you have that, or a headphone amplifier or something like that, then I'm not sure why else you would create different outputs. So let's see. When you're using output channel strips, you can't apply any further sends effects to the signal flow as you would using aux channel strips. So you'll notice that these output strips, they're not aux channels, right? They do not have send slots. What can you do? You can control settings and insert effect plugins using the individual controls of the output channel strip. All right. In some cases, you might want to prevent individual output channel strips from being controlled by the master channel strip. So in some cases, you might want to prevent the output from being affected by the master. Outputs use as send effects to external hardware devices, for example. So I want to highlight that. Actually, I want to highlight that whole phrase. Sometimes I just like to study these. Simply make such output channel strips solo safe and they won't be affected by the master channel strip. Okay, let's keep going. The insert slots of output channel strips allow signal processing during the mastering process as well as during normal playback. The insert slots of output channel strips allow signal processing during mastering as well as during normal playback. So if you have some processing on the master channel, you're going to hear it, of course, during playback. Typical mastering tools are compressors, de-essers to remove brittle sounds, equalizers. Due to the technical reasons, you can only use plugins that don't require mono to stereo conversion. In other words, you can use stereo to stereo and mono to mono, but not the other way around. Surround versions of plugins can be used on mono or stereo, which unless you're using surround doesn't really matter. Mono to multi-mono variants can be used on mono output channel strips, stereo to surround. More surround stuff. Let's get out of here. I'm not going to be using surround. Define a channel strip stereo output. Okay, so this is what I was telling you earlier. I was telling you that you can actually change the output. Logic Pro, you can choose the physical output on which the stereo output is played. By default, of course, it's on 1 and 2. However, you can easily change the stereo output preferences if you're exchanging projects with another studio that uses a different output pair. You can also define the output pair for individual channel strips in the mixer. So we can change where this is all going. All right. So if you wanted to define the stereo output, we will go to Preferences Audio. Why did that turn on? Preferences Audio. We go to the I/O Assignment tab, and here it is right here. We can select whichever one we want to be the mighty pair. Choose from an output pair. The mirroring checkbox becomes available for all chosen output pairs with the exception of outputs 1 and 2. So yeah, why would you want this? I would assume like if you have a really big studio and you want outputs 3 and 4 to mirror 1 and 2, this would be the reason. But for most of us, I don't think we're going to use that. Deselect the mirroring checkbox to have the output signal routed to the chosen output pair. So if you literally wanted to go to a headphone amplifier box, you would choose something different. Select the mirroring checkbox to have the output signal routed to the chosen output. This is useful when feeding the signal to a second pair of monitors. Again, why would you have second monitors? Let's say you hire a choir or you guys are doing a live recording and all the musicians want to be able to hear themselves, or at least a click track or something, then that you can do that kind of thing. Define the output pair, or a reference track rather. Define the output pair for a channel strip. Logic Pro, click and hold the channel strip's output slot and we can define the output. Define a channel strip's mono output. You can define a channel strip's mono output setting directly from the channel strip's output slot. So this is interesting because again, this has more to do with mixers and outboard mixers. We can select the stereo output in this manner. Let's see. And then if you have a mono track, rather than it going out to stereo, you can just hover down at the bottom and send it out to a mono output if need be. Hold on, is there something? Hold on, there was something there that I wanted to look at here. Yeah, I used to do this thing where I had a separate interface, and I would have the instrumental going out on one channel and then the vocal going out on another for as a separate headphone mix. So again, this is kind of one iteration. I need to get rid of that though. But in fact, maybe I'll just show you how to do that really quick. I think you go to IO labels rather. And this is where you can pre-name and predetermine all of the stuff in your studio. So I have another interface here, and so I don't need these anymore, so I'm going to delete these, okay? And so then now we're back to kind of just the normal. You can create, systems here if you wanted to. If you know you're always coming out of bus 1 reverb, bus 2 delay, you can name all of this so it's always properly named inside of your session. Okay, creating a track's signal flow in Logic Pro. Signal flow channel strips, which include aux and output, do not contain regions. Okay, so the channel strips do not contain regions, but they serve to route the signals from other channel strips. Signal flow channel strips do not normally appear in the tracks area. However, we know that we can add these to the tracks area if, for example, you want to automate parameters. So let's say we have a subgroup, such as we do with these drums. Do you remember we routed them all to bus, well, by all I mean two, to bus 28, and that is right. Wait, did I change? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, bus 28. Oh, wait. This session has gotten pretty complicated. Oh, I think I deleted bus 28. All right, let me just send these to bus 29 then, or bus 20. Okay, cool. So then now both of them are being routed here. Now this session is not in the tracks area. We already talked about how to create a track. We can control click at the contextual menu, or hit options, and then we go to create tracks for selected channel strips. And then now that is in effect in the tracks area. How come I do not see it? See, it's this one here, right? 101. Yes. Create track. There it goes right there. Okay. So now this is the subgroup, and it's actually, do you guys remember we were doing track stacks earlier? It's really the same thing. These two are being processed and going through this one. So it's the same thing as literally, why would we do it this way? To be honest, this was just the old way of doing it. So there's no particular reason to do it. It's just that this is how they did it. For some, this is organizational in nature. They like routing everything to some kind of auxiliary where it's going out, and it's signifying to their brains, hey, we're almost done with this whole process. That's how you would do that. Let's see here. Let's finish this up, and then we'll go from there. Let's see here. Okay, signal flow. Okay, good. We talked about that. Creating the track, Control T, creating a track stack. Same exact thing as I just showed you, just a little less complicated. So we know that a new track stack is going to be created, and it's going to be in the tracks area. So we know that track stacks have folder stacks, which are VCA, very simple, organizational, and then summing stacks, which process the entire signal. I highly recommend, if you're a beginner, you only use summing stacks for now. Later on, once you start understanding the difference, then you can use both. Let me see what else we have to cover. Yeah, now we're going to go into a whole nother thing here. Okay, guys, I wanted to thank you so much for another week. This was a particularly busy week, but we have to continue on and be uncompromising when it comes to our dedication to the craft, right? If you want to become a Logic Pro power user, you have to have a singular focus that cannot be broken, that cannot be compromised. I'm proud to be here with you and just show you the way. I hope you're getting a lot from these sessions. I know that I am, and I wouldn't be here if it was for you. Like, you're the reason I come. You're the reason I show up, because I told you I was going to be here, And so you're here as well. And so that means a lot to me. So let's keep moving the ball forward. Let's keep growing, keep pushing the envelope. And then one day we're going to look back and we will find that we are much better than where we were before. But in order to get there, we have to continue to build on a day-to-day basis. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you guys on Monday, where we're going to cover so much more, including binaural panning for anybody who's interested in that. Of course, it doesn't really work unless you have surround sound, but still, at the very least, if you're creating some kind of headphone album experience, then you can utilize it too. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much. We are done. Take it easy. Peace.